Hello, my name is Marta Hernández. I'm a scientist at CloudLimbs, and today I'm going to talk to you about something that has been attracting a lot of attention in recent years, and that is the THC inflation and lab shopping that has been plaguing the cannabis industry. So, in this talk, we will see what is THC inflation. We will see also why is there so much interesting in inflating THC, and we will see also the dangers of THC inflation for cannabis testing labs. And I'm going to tell you how an informatics tool such as LIMS can assure accurate testing and reporting of THC. So first, let's see how the industry is these days. So the cannabis industry has had great achievements in 2022 that have advanced the global legalization agenda. So with the near end of the prohibition era comes a regulated industry expected to be worth 82.3 billion by 2027. So that's a lot of money. That's great for the cannabis industry. But it's not all on hunky dory though. One major setback has been noted in 2022, and that is the rise in THC inflation and the resulting trend of lab shopping. So that's a big problem for the cannabis industry and the rising of it. So let's see, what is THC inflation? Well, as the name says, THC inflation is bumping up THC numbers to show that a sample has a higher concentration than it actually has. So let's say that the low THC strains are less than 10% of THC, and the high THC strain, it's greater than 20% of THC. So, as we know, the high THC strain command a higher price. So, traditionally, it was very rare to find strains with more than 28% of THC. But now it's really common to walk into a dispensary and find several shelves full of products that exceed 30 or 40% of THC. So if you notice that, you should be alert that something terrible wrong is happening that with that product. So that is a THC inflation. That's a very big problem that comes to another major problem, like that is the commonly named lab shopping. So, what is lab shopping? Well, it's the unethical practice of choosing laboratories based on the favorable results that they offered. Some shady labs began to adopt this practice due to the high demand for inflated numbers of THC. So, the lab shopping is increasingly a serious concern for everyone. And of course, this is definitely a consequences of THC inflations and dishonest person that are doing this. And how does this lab shopping happen? Well, it becomes when it is known that a certain lab is increasing THC levels. So the rogue growers start flocking to the lab to also increase their THC levels and of all of their products. So the word begins to spread and the laboratory is going up in numbers too. So this practice has become so widespread that some labs openly advertise their services based on the high THC numbers on the certificates of analysis of the COAs that they generated. So they say that great potencies, they advertise it, they adopt this as a marketing strategy, and they are succeeding, some of them. Let's see how the THC inflation is in the US. Well, at first, the THC inflation cases went unreported and consequently went unpunished. So a few cases were reported last year. Let's see, in Arkansas, some patients of medical cannabis have filed a class action lawsuit against a cannabis testing laboratory for inflating some THC results from three different producers in the state. And while in the West Coast, two customers sued a California marijuana company, alleging that their pre-roll joints were not as strong as I claimed. And on the other side of the country, in Florida, regulators recently discovered THC inflation in several licensed medical marijuana testing labs. And there's a study that was published in 2021 by Dr. Sorov. And in this study, he highlighted suspected THC inflation in the states of Washington and Nevada, too. So now I'm gonna ask you a question. Does high THC in a product mean that it's better? Well, this is a controversial question. And according to a study from the University of Colorado, this might not matter in the long run because beyond a certain potency level, let's say 20%, it is the additional cannabinoids and terpenes that are responsible for the stronger effects, and not only the THC. The mixture of the terpenes that they have and some other molecules that the plant has. So let's see what this study says. I was really interested. So in this study, they compared cannabis flowers users with the cannabis concentrates users. We know that the cannabis concentrate users are the one that having higher plasma levels of THC and its active metabolite in the short term and overall. However, despite this increased THC exposure, the concentrate users did not show a greater short-term subjective, cognitive, or balance impairment. So at the end of the study, I'm putting here the DOI if you want to check it out. They conclude that not only the THC is responsible for the effect. As I said, there are some other molecules that are responsible of it. So with all this information, with all this research that has been done about the THC and their potency, so why is they interested in inflating the THC? Well, first is the misinformation about the potency of cannabis varieties, because the consumers, well, they're not as informed as we are in the industry. They believe that the higher the THC content in a product, the stronger or better it will be. So high THC products command higher pricing and encouraging dishonest lab to overstate THC potency because, of course, there are money on it. So, since there is so much misinformation, well, the consumers are willing to pay a higher price for products with higher THC content. And the producers, well, make more money selling the products with this higher THC concentration. And this gives them the incentive to inflate these THC numbers. So, these are the causes of why the THC inflation is a big problem and it's rising right now. So, in the long run, the THC inflation hurts the entire cannabis industry because, well, consumers pay more for less potent cannabis varieties. They are cheated, and the medical cannabis patients who requires product with THC at specific concentrations suffer the biggest consequences of inflated THC numbers. So this is too serious because we're talking about health, we're talking about pain, we're talking about medical issues. So imagine that the doctor prescribes you a drug, wherever it is, in a certain dose. You must be sure that it is that dose that you are buying at the pharmacy. So with the THC inflation, you can't be sure of that. So that's a big problem for it. And well, the practice is undermining consumer confidence, damaging all the industry's integrity, all of the chain is affected with this THC inflation. So we know the cannabis industry loses credibility as more cases of serious product labeling errors continue to be reported. And another major problem is the research itself. So the research for cannabis is affected when the researchers discovered that they cannot trust the THC level as stated on the product's level. So this is very serious, as I said, because the researchers cannot continue investigating and publishing in journals since they do not have the confidence and the reliability that the samples that they are studying are are confident or are that concentration that it says. So the research doesn't continue, will not continue with these mistakes. So also, bad reputation. The labs that inflate these THC results may charge higher fees, yes, for the extra service that they are providing. They say that they guarantee you greater potencies for a little extra loaded with dishonesty. So when a lab is found to be inflating these THC levels, well, the lab will lose all the credibility, will face heavy fines, and even could lose their license. And that's really good because the social media is helping us with this because there are a lot of news and there are a lot of publication of these honest labs that are doing this THC inflation. So we know which labs are. So their reputation will be really bad for them, and they will lose customers at the long run. So the honest labs that don't play this honest game may be short-term losers as they won't have customers flocking under on their services because they are not dishonest. They will report what it is, what the instrument says, what their method that is validated says, and no anything else. So they will not have that line of customers of very very dishonest growers that want an extra service. Probably they will not have that extra fee, but the only clients that will stick with them are those who believe in transparency and the ethical business practices. And well, in the long run, they will be able to build a solid reputation and a credible clientele that will survive for a very long time. So, as my favorite group says, ABBA, the winner takes it all. So, keep doing what you're doing. You will win at the long run. You will have the best reputation. You will be confident for your clients, for the researchers, for the customers. So keep doing. And so why there is a scope of THC inflation? Well, in the absence of an industry standard for testing, labs use different processes and equipment for testing cannabis products, delivering different results. So this it's a loophole that the shady labs exploit to deliver inflated THC numbers. So it is very common to have different the results from one lab to another because there's not a method that has been standardized or and there are different instruments, there are different analysts, so they have to be different, but slightly different, not that different as the shady labs do. Also, the scope for manual intervention and lack of automated workflows allow the scraps to falsify results and mislead authorities. This is because a lot of labs they do everything in paper, so it's really really easy to cross the result and put it in another one. They use probably spreadsheets in Excel, so it's really easy to delete a result and put it in another one. So they don't have automated workflow, so it's really easy to to do this to put another result when it is not the correct one. And the lack of industry-wide adoption of tools such as the LIMS that can flag these manipulated test results and drive workflow automation. So this is the solution. This is the solution for all these labs that are paper based and spreadsheet based. You can automate your workflows with the software, and the manipulation of these results will not be possible. And I will show you how in some slides later. So how to prevent this THC inflation? Well, first, the same samples should be tested in different labs and outliers reported. So also the state should move quickly to punish labs that publish inflated numbers. So these are the proficiency tests that are really famous in the cannabis industry. They have to, the labs have to test it, the different samples, and probably the results will be slightly different, but not as much as different that even not probably it's like 20-21%, but not 46%, for example. So the labs that are shady, that are inflated numbers will be really obvious when their results. Another solution could be a public awareness program that it's definitely needed to dispel the myths surrounding higher THC numbers. We have to educate the consumers, we have to educate the population, and to they have to know that that's a myth. The THC level, it's not the responsible of the effect. Not only the THC level. And also the labs must be accredited to ISO 17025 and automated processes with the LIMS to uphold quality standards for accurate reporting and boosting the confidence of the consumers and the confidence of all the cannabis industry. Also, stopping rampant THC inflation in lab shopping seems like an impossible task, but it can be done by insisting on a credible third party testing of the THC products. So, another one has to test the same products and they have to have, well, also this similar results. Also, the cannabis user should insist on seeing the COAs and verify the credibility of the testing laboratory. Here again, we have to educate the cannabis users. They have the right to know what they are consuming. So they can ask for these COAs and they can see what are the real results that they're consuming on their cannabis, and avoid at all costs that all the labs that have previously been involved with this THC inflation. They will be marked, they will be flagged as dishonest labs and that not reliable labs with really bad reputation. We have to do it. We have to we know who are them and put it on the blacklist because that's not honest of them. Also, the industry stakeholders should perform checks on the cannabis products to determine if claims of product labels are verifiable. And of course, and I think that this is really, really important and probably the most important at this moment is standardized regulations. For example, in California, a standardized cannabis potency method has mandated under the Senate Bill 544, and it was announced on July 2022. So this is a big step to prevent this THC inflation with methods that has been standardized and validated, and they doing in all labs, so they must have similar results. But well, there are some challenges for the laboratories, and these are that the laboratories sometimes can inadvertently report inaccurate THC results. And this may be because some of the mistakes that can be sample mix-ups or transcription errors, or the same that they're not standardized methods. So probably there can be a mistake there. And well, this mistake can be costly and then can compromise the lab's reputation because we don't know if that was inadvertently mistake or it was well, it wasn't a mistake at all. They are well inflating their THC level, so we don't know if that was. So, how to overcome with these challenges and take care of the laboratory's reputation? Well, Laboratory Information Management System, or LIMS, supports maintaining the highest level of accuracy and productivity in cannabis testing. How? Well, why a LIMS? Well, because a LIMS maintains a read-only audit trail and boosts data defensibility, manage QC samples and test results, drive automation through instruments and software integration, and generate verifiable custom COAs. I'm going to show you how. First, with the LIMS in place, manual manipulation of data is not possible. Why? Because the read-only audit trail. LIMS tracks all the laboratory activities such as um, changes made of documents, sample records, or test results, and even the login activities of the staff. Here it is. Even with the login activities of the staff. So with the read-only audit trail, you won't be able to cross any result. You won't be able to delete in a spreadsheet and put in another one. No, no, no. Everything is automatically, and we will know exactly who is manipulating these results, who is doing what. So you will have total control of your laboratory. So these mistakes won't happen because everything is automatically. They will eliminate all the human errors. So that's the best choice to avoid any THC inflation issue in your laboratory. Also, we know that quality control is of vital importance for cannabis testing laboratories to demonstrate that their results are reproducible, are reliable, and defensible. So the labs use different types of quality control samples, such as method or laboratory fortified blanks, or spikes, or duplicates to test if the results are accurate or not. So labs should validate each test run by comparing the test results of the quality control samples with the test samples and to identify and prevent any analytical errors. So you insert them in your samples, for example, a spike, and you processes everything at the same way following your method. And if the spike gives you the known value, it is a fact that the method was carried out correctly, and there is no doubt that your samples have the reported THC value. So LMS helps manage the results of QC samples and flags the errors. Instrument and software integrations. So we know that the cannabis testing labs performs testing of the several samples on a day-to-day basis. So the manual transfer of analytical data from an instrument to a LIMS is error-prone and reduces laboratory efficiency. We know that at the end of the day, after an analysis, you're tired. The last that you want to do is to copy the result from the instrument manually to a spreadsheet or anything. So you can have a mistake there. So for minimizing the test turnaround time and for maintaining this data integrity, it is important to automate the data transfer process. So a good LIMS can be seamlessly integrated with analytical instruments for data transfer from instruments to a LIMS. So reducing this turnaround time and eliminating the chance of transcription errors. Also, an ERP collects, stores, manages critical business metrics, and supports business operation of testing labs. An ERP also helps to address traceability and compliance issues faced by these testing labs. And LMs can also be integrated with a third-party software, such as a billing software, to streamline business operation and centrally manage critical business data. So everything will be complete in your LEMS. And also LIMS helps you to generate certificate of analysis that will be customs with a QR code to enable easy authentication. So this QR code can be configured to encode a link to the original COA generated by a laboratory. For example, a customer purchasing a cannabis product from a dispensary can scan with his phone on the COA and match the reported composition with the composition on the product label to ensure that the product that has the same composition as claimed. So it is really helpful to increase the confidence in your laboratory. So let's see all the key takeaways that we had in this talk. We saw that the THC inflation and lab shopping are. We also saw the inflating power results offers short-term financial gains, but we know that the end of the long run will be a lose for them. We also checked that random testing by stakeholders can expose some unscrupulous practices in your lab, such as a THC inflation. And the reputable labs that do not pump the THC will earn the trust, the credibility of customers over the time. Remember, the winner takes it all. And how LIMS enables labs to ensure accurate THC concentrations, reporting, and follow quality standards with ease. That's everything that we saw in this talk. So thank you very much for your attention.